If you've ever loved a Capricorn, worked with one, or tried to get close to one, you've probably felt this at some point. The distance. Not always physical distance. Not even obvious emotional rejection. Something stranger than that. It's the feeling that no matter how much is happening on the surface, some part of them is still standing back, still measuring, still refusing to fully surrender to the moment the way other people do. And if you've ever been hurt by that, if you've ever called Capricorn cold, rigid, emotionally unavailable, or too guarded, this may be hard to hear. Because Capricorn is not the sign that feels too little. Capricorn is the sign that refuses to let feeling lead until feeling has proven it can survive reality. That difference changes everything. We live in a world that tells people to honor every emotion the second it appears. Say what you feel. Trust your heart. Follow the spark. If it feels real, it must be true. If it feels intense, it must be meaningful. If it moves you deeply, it must deserve action. Capricorn does not believe that. Not because they are empty. Not because they are incapable of love. Not because they are secretly made of stone. But because Capricorn has usually seen what happens when emotion is handed authority before it has earned wisdom. They've seen people destroy years of trust in one impulsive moment and call it honesty. They've seen people make reckless choices and rename them authenticity. They've seen devotion spoken with tears, promises made with trembling sincerity, and grand feelings offered like proof of loyalty, only to watch those same feelings vanish the second life becomes inconvenient. Capricorn pays attention to that. They notice how quickly people confuse intensity with truth. They notice how often emotions are treated like evidence, even when they are unstable, contradictory, and temporary. They notice how many lives get wrecked not by evil intentions, but by unmanaged impulses that felt justified in the moment. And because they notice it, Capricorn develops a rule that many people never learn until damage teaches it to them. Not every feeling deserves the power to decide. That doesn't mean feelings are fake. It means feelings are unfinished. They are data, not direction. Signals, not commands. They tell you something is happening, but not always what should be done about it. Capricorn understands that instinctively. That is why they often look so calm when everyone else is emotionally activated. That is why they seem slow to respond when others want instant vulnerability. That is why they can sit in the middle of chaos and still refuse to let the moment drag them into emotional theater. And people hate that. Because most people do not want emotional discipline from others when they are overwhelmed. They want emotional participation. They want someone to meet them exactly where they are, at exactly the same volume, with exactly the same urgency. Capricorn rarely does that naturally. While everyone else is saying, "This is how I feel right now," Capricorn is asking, "What will this become if we keep feeding it?" While others are overwhelmed by the pressure of the moment, Capricorn is already looking past the moment. What happens tomorrow? What remains next week? What is this going to cost once the adrenaline burns off? Who will have to carry the consequences after the emotion passes? That is the part people misunderstand. They assume Capricorn is detached because they are not reacting fast enough. But Capricorn is often not detached at all. They are calculating impact. They are trying to figure out whether the feeling in the room is revealing something true or simply demanding expression because it wants relief. And those are not the same thing. A lot of emotion is not asking to be understood. It is asking to be discharged. Capricorn knows that if you let every emotional wave make decisions, eventually your life belongs to your least stable moments. So they resist. Not because they don't care, because they care what survives. This is especially obvious in relationships, where Capricorn is probably misunderstood more than almost any sign. A lot of people enter love looking for immediacy. They want the spark, the chemistry, the urgency, the magnetic pull that makes everything feel undeniable. They want words that sound certain. They want reassurance that arrives quickly. They want to feel chosen now, not later. Capricorn is far more skeptical of that kind of certainty. They know how easily attraction can impersonate compatibility. They know how often passion mistakes itself for permanence. They know how many people can mean every word they say in one moment and still fail to live up to those same words when tested by time, stress, boredom, distance, responsibility, or disappointment. So Capricorn watches. They do not just listen to what you feel. They watch what your feelings make you do repeatedly. Can you be trusted when you are frustrated? Can you remain kind when you don't get your way? Can you still show up when when there is nothing glamorous about the connection? Can you hold the same values when life stops rewarding you for having them? Can you love without making your mood everyone else's problem? These are Capricorn questions, and those questions can make them seem severe, even in moments that are supposed to feel romantic. Because where many people ask, "Do I feel deeply about this?" Capricorn asks, "Can this carry weight?" That is the real difference. Capricorn does not measure love by how intensely it begins. They measure it by how much reality it can survive without collapsing. And that standard makes them difficult to impress. You can move other people with words. You can overwhelm them with attention. You can dazzle them with chemistry. You can create emotional intensity so strong that it feels like destiny. Capricorn is still watching what happens when the performance ends. Still watching whether your character matches your feelings. Still watching whether you are built for maintenance, not just excitement. Not because Capricorn enjoys doubting people, but because they understand that what ruins most lives is not a lack of emotion. It is emotion without discipline, desire without structure, closeness without maturity, promises without endurance. So when Capricorn holds back, it is not always rejection. Sometimes it is respect. Respect for consequences. Respect for timing. Respect for the fact that once emotions are acted on, real damage becomes possible. Bonds form. Expectations grow. Vulnerabilities open. Futures change. Capricorn does not take that lightly. And because they don't take it lightly, their love often arrives differently than people expect. It does not always announce itself dramatically. It does not always look soft in the beginning. It does not always sound poetic at the exact moment someone wants reassurance. But Capricorn loves in ways that become more obvious over time, not less. They love by staying consistent when moods change. They love by remembering what matters after the excitement fades. They love by making room for you in long-term plans, not just short-term feelings. They love by carrying responsibility without constantly asking for praise. They love by remaining when remaining becomes inconvenient. And in a world full of people who are emotionally convincing for brief stretches of time, that kind of love can be easy to miss. Because it does not always feel intoxicating. At first, it feels controlled. It feels measured. It feels cautious. It feels like someone holding back the very thing you most want from them. But controlled does not mean shallow. Measured does not mean weak. Cautious does not mean incapable. Sometimes caution is what prevents care from turning destructive. Sometimes restraint is what protects something valuable from being handed over too quickly to forces that are not ready to handle it. Capricorn knows that. They know a bond can be ruined by saying yes too soon, trusting too quickly, or mistaking emotional momentum for genuine stability. They know feelings can be sincere and still be unsafe. That is what people rarely understand about Capricorn. They are not asking whether emotion is real. They are asking whether it is ready. Ready for commitment. Ready for pressure. Ready for repetition. Ready for the ordinary weight of daily life. Because Capricorn understands something many people do not want to hear. The real test of love is not what it feels like at its peak. It is what it becomes in its maintenance phase. When things are not exciting. When there is no audience. When nothing dramatic is happening. When somebody is tired, stressed, disappointed, insecure, distracted, or failing. That is where Capricorn starts taking things seriously. Because that is where truth stops performing and starts working. And yet, for all the strength this gives them, it also creates one of Capricorn's deepest problems. The same emotional discipline that makes them dependable can also make them hard to feel. The same control that protects their life can make their care nearly invisible. The same instinct that keeps them from reckless vulnerability can keep them from timely tenderness. And this is where Capricorn quietly loses people. Not because they don't love enough, but because they assume love should be self-evident through loyalty, effort, consistency, protection, and endurance. They assume that if they are staying, building, fixing, planning, carrying, and remaining, the other person will naturally understand what that means. But human beings are not machines. They do not only need reliability. They need warmth they can feel while the relationship is still alive. They need reassurance before the structure is complete. They need to hear what Capricorn thinks should already be obvious. And Capricorn, for all their wisdom, often learns this later than they should. They are so focused on being trustworthy that they sometimes forget people also need to feel cherished. They are so focused on carrying the weight that they forget to reveal the heart doing the carrying. They are so focused on not being irresponsible with emotion that they become ungenerous with expression. And then the label arrives. Cold, detached, difficult, unreachable, when the deeper truth is often much sadder than that. Capricorn is frequently not withholding because they don't care. They are withholding because they care so much about getting it right that they struggle to express it before the moment passes. They do not want to make promises they cannot keep. They do not want to create emotional dependency they cannot support. They do not want to say things that sound beautiful in the moment but collapse under the pressure of real life. So they wait until they are sure. But by the time they are sure, someone else may already be gone. That is one of Capricorn's most painful paradoxes. They can be among the most reliable people you will ever meet and still make others feel emotionally uncertain. They can care with enormous depth and still fail to make that depth visible in real time. They can offer a love built to last, while losing people who needed to feel loved before the durability revealed itself. And that hurts Capricorn more than they admit. Because despite their image, Capricorn is not unfeeling. They feel the cost of loss. They feel the ache of misinterpretation. They feel the loneliness of being judged by what they do not show instead of what they carry. But even then, they rarely dramatize it. They absorb it. They file it away. They keep functioning. And to the outside world, that continued functioning looks like proof that they never cared. But functioning is not the absence of pain. For Capricorn, functioning is often how pain gets survived. This is why Capricorn can seem older than they are, even when they are young. They understand consequence early. They understand that choices echo. They understand that one undisciplined moment can create years of repair. They understand that what feels liberating now can become a burden later. They understand that emotion is powerful precisely because it can build or destroy depending on who is guiding it. So Capricorn makes a decision again and again. Do not let a temporary state dictate a permanent direction. That rule protects their future. It protects other people too. But it also makes them lonely in a culture that rewards emotional display more than emotional stewardship. We praise the visible. Capricorn specializes in the durable. We celebrate intensity. Capricorn trusts consistency. We are impressed by what someone feels at full volume. Capricorn wants to know what remains when the volume drops. That is why people often understand Capricorn too late. Only after the dramatic lovers disappear. Only after the passionate promises evaporate. Only after the exciting connection folds under stress. Only after the people who felt everything loudly prove they could not carry anything steadily. Then suddenly, Capricorn makes sense. Then suddenly, what looked cold starts to look responsible. What looked guarded starts to look wise. What looked underwhelming starts to look priceless. Because Capricorn was never trying to deny emotion. They were trying to protect life from being ruled by emotion that had not yet earned authority. So if a Capricorn has ever made you feel shut out, try to look deeper before deciding they felt nothing. You may not be looking at indifference. You may be looking at someone who respects the consequences of care so deeply that they refuse to handle it recklessly. And if you are a Capricorn, hear this clearly. You are not broken because you don't perform feeling on command. You are not heartless because you move slowly. You are not cold because you think about consequences before surrendering to emotion. Your restraint is not a defect. Your caution is not a failure. Your seriousness is not the absence of love. It is a form of integrity. But your lesson is just as important. Do not let discipline become silence, so complete that the people who matter most only discover your love in hindsight. Do not make them decode devotion from distance. Do not assume your loyalty explains itself. Let them feel some of what you carry before time turns that hidden care into a missed chance. Because Capricorn does not love loudly. Capricorn loves with weight, with steadiness, with memory, with endurance, with responsibility, with the quiet promise of staying when staying stops being easy. And in the beginning, that may not look like much. Until life gets hard. Then it looks like everything. If this perspective made you see Capricorn differently, like the video, share it with someone who has misunderstood Capricorn, or with a Capricorn who's tired of being called cold for simply refusing to love carelessly. And subscribe if you want astrology that goes deeper than surface traits and gets to the hidden logic behind how people protect, love, and survive. Because astrology is not just here to flatter us. It is here to reveal what others miss. And Capricorn was never meant to be ruled by emotion alone. They were meant to show us what love looks like when feeling is forced to answer to responsibility.